Hi, welcome back. Again, my name is Orlando, and in this video I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about functions in R, how to create them, how to use them, and all of that. So functions are really just, let's say, rules between how to process a specific input and what should be the appropriate output if there is an output in the first place. So typically a function is just uh, some code that tells you what to do with specific input. So how to process it in a way. So uh, creating functions in R is very simple. You can create multiple functions in the same file. You can even create functions directly here in the console. Um, and the syntax is, as you can see over here, it's very simple. So I'm creating a function that I'm going to call my function. So the syntax is you write, so use the assignment operator, then you write function, then in parentheses you write the name of the argument, or multiple arguments if there are multiple. We'll see that in a moment. And then you do not necessarily need to use these parentheses, but it's probably a good idea to use them most of the time, especially if you have multiple lines, then you have to use them. And then you print, you write over here what the output of the function should be, if there should be an output. You can do sort of calculations in between, and then just print out the actual output in the end. So I'm gonna run this code over here, and now I have the function myFun created, which appears over here as a function. And so this function, what it does is so it's the function 2 times this sign. So if I do actually here, so to call the function I just use the regular parentheses. So if I call the function for the number 3, I'll get this number. I hope it is right. If I do it for pi over 2, so it should be 2 times sine of pi over 2, which is 2 times 1. So it should give me the number 2. Let's see, run, and it does work. Now, I can also assign variables to the output of a function. That's very easy to do. So let's say here I want y to be the value of my fun at pi over 2, and now if I run y, it should give me the number 2. Okay, so to create functions with multiple variables, it's basically exactly the same idea, except you need to separate your arguments, your variables, with commas. Then you can use all of those as arguments. So in this case, I have a linear function of x, y, z. I can run it, and I'm going to test it with the numbers x equals 2, y equals 3, and z equals -4. You can check the answer should be -32. You can check that if you want. Now, one really good thing about R, which as far as I know not many programming languages have this feature, is that you can actually input the arguments in an arbitrary order when you have a multivariable function. So the only thing you have to do is you have to be careful to name the arguments, and then you can change the order in which they appear however you want. As long as you introduce all the sort of mandatory arguments, you can input them in however way you want. So let's say here I'm gonna also introduce the same values 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 2, 3, -4. So x, I'm gonna, let's say, introduce them here at the end. Y, I'm gonna introduce it first, and z, I'm gonna introduce it in the middle. So as long as I name everything accordingly, I can run this, and I'll get the exact same value, -32. And just to check that I'm not confusing this with calling the function at the values x equals 3, y equals -4, and z equals -2, if I try to do this, then I would get some other number. So it does work as we want it to. So this is true for all functions in R, whether you created the function or if it's a function that already exists. As long as you name the arguments, you can change the order around. That's very useful, at least to me. Now, you can also, when you create a function, you can define what we call default argument values. So let's say you want, in the exact same function as before, you want the argument z to be assigned the value 1000 whenever the user calls the function without specifying the value z. So I'll run the function, I'll call it myfun3. So if I call the function at the same values 2, 3, minus 4, I'll get minus 32 again. So now if I call the function, but if I don't specify z, so what the function will do when I call it, it will assume z to be 1000. So this is its default value. So when I run it, I will get this value, which is 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 10 times 1000, which is this number, which seems to be correct. Okay, so that's basically all there is to do, all there is to know about functions. It's very easy to create functions. Usually you should name them something according to what they do. You should probably put several comments into what the function is doing. So these are very simple functions, just one-line functions, but in practice you can have functions with several lines as long as you have the properly defined output, if there even is an output, because you do not necessarily need an output. So let's say, for instance, here I create a function myfun4, which takes the arguments x, y, does some random computation, x plus 3 times y, but then I will not specify any output. So when I do this command, I'm not saying z is the output, I'm just computing this value z. So I will run it, and then I will call the function. Let's see, actually I'm going to do it over here. myfun, let's see, 5, 2. If I run it, I'll get an argument. I'll get an error because the argument is actually, never mind. This is not the same function. This is myfun4. I will not actually get an error. I will just get nothing. Okay. Actually, even worse, if I remove this completely, so I'm going to comment this part and run this again. And if I call the function, I'll get this null, because there is nothing being computed over here, so I guess R is kind of confused. So yes, you can have functions without outputs if you want. You can also have functions with multiple outputs, so those would be vectors. So let's say here I want the output to be x plus y, x minus y. So actually I need to put the c to make it a vector. I'll run it, and then I'll call the function with these values, which should give me 5 plus 2, 7, 5 minus 2, 3. So I'll run it, and I'll get 7, 3. And the output can be basically of every data type. As far as I know, they can be logical, they can be whatever. There's no real limitation. Okay, thank you.